Have you ever found yourself saying that you don't have the time to do something? You just simply don't have the time to get stuff done. I'm doing it all the time, so I know I'm not the only one here. But I came across somebody who has achieved so much in such a short time in this world of glamping and unique holiday rentals. So I knew I had to speak to her some more and learn what her secrets were so that we could all gain from it. And I promise you, this interview about what Dina and her husband have achieved is simply epic. Enjoy. Glamping and unique holiday rentals are surging in popularity with the growing desire of customers to book holidays that deliver an experience. They are also the new business of choice for those wanting to improve their work-life balance. So how do you build a strong business like this that gives you the life you need and a great investment? I'm Sarah Riley, and I want to share what I've discovered after being immersed in this industry for over 20 years to inspire you to find out more about what's going on. Welcome, this is the business of glamping and unique holiday rentals. So often I find myself saying that I just don't have the time to get stuff done. I procrastinate, I focus on the wrong things, like answering emails, for goodness sake. They just seem to come constantly and I can't actually keep up with them. But that's instead of taking the right kind of action. I know that I'm doing it, and let's face it, I'm sure you're doing it too. I mean, come on, be honest. I'm sure you're doing this as well. So when I met Dina in California and we got talking about everything she and her husband have achieved recently, I realised I had to talk to her on the podcast and share what she does and how she does it. I mean, Dina has a wonderful site in Paso Robles in California, and it's beautiful. It's full of teepees, vintage trailers, hideaways, swimming pools. But that's not all. I mean, really, the most astounding thing isn't their site or the vineyard area or the weddings they have there or any of the amazing reviews that they get. The actual astounding thing is how they've done all of that while living hours away from the actual site and also holding down 2 full-time jobs. I mean, this is just simply epic. I cannot quite understand how they've done it, and that's why I realised I had to interview Dina. And so I know you're going to enjoy this one. It's certainly going to inspire you to get stuff done and look at things differently and get things done differently. But most importantly, about not standing in your own way, about not putting those limiting beliefs out there that you can't start your dream business because you've got a full-time job and you can't give it up, and you can't give up that money that's coming in, or whatever it is, or that you live too far away from your land while you want to run it. I mean, this really is an episode from someone who has overcome all of those obstacles and has done this regardless. So we'll head on straight over to the interview. So Dina, we hung out in California and it was such a pleasure to meet you because instantly we were talking about your glamping business and your plans and what you were trying to achieve with Windward, and the fact that you had so many things going on. I couldn't quite believe that you were doing all of that and holding down a job, but we'll get into that in a minute. But first, I wanted to kind of explore your story a bit and ask if you wouldn't mind sharing with everybody a little bit about you and your husband and what you've achieved in California and how you've done it. If you could give us a rough overview, that'd be fab.
Sure. So it's interesting. I moved to California about 8 years ago. I was living in New York City before that, and I was working in television. And I met my former boss out there who offered me a job in California. And once winter had started in late 2010, there was like 5 humongous snowstorms in December. And by the 5th one, I was like, you know what, California is looking really good. So I moved to California. I met my husband a year later, and we took a trip to Big Sur, which is an incredible place. If you guys know about it, it's one of our national treasures in the States, and it's absolutely stunning. And on our way back, he said, my favorite wine country region is Paso Robles. Why don't we drive through? So we did. And we made a stop there, and we found out that an offer that we had put on a house together was accepted, and we bought a house and we renovated it ourselves, and we ended up moving in there and then moving out of there. And 2 years later, we went back to Paso Robles, and on the precipice of getting engaged with friends, stayed at an Airbnb that was for sale, and staring at these incredible views of vineyards and hills and farm country and land, all of us, after a weekend of wine, decided to put an offer in on this house, sort of as a joke, but also seriously. And a day or two later, we found out our offer had been accepted. So we decided, why not? Let's try this out. And we all went into business together, and we opened our first vacation rental and events venue. We were going to use this home for weddings, in addition to into vacation rentals. And so we bought that home, we turned it into a wedding venue. My husband and I's wedding was the first event on our property. And very quickly after that, the partnership with our friends sort of soured. But what my husband and I realized was that there was absolutely a business case for what we were doing in Paso Robles. And we wanted to do one, but just the two of us. So I work in television by day, and so does he. I work in post-production services and sales, and he works in production. He produces reality shows. He had gone up to upstate New York to produce a show about guys who were buying old Airstreams, fixing them up and flipping them. And he came home and said, you know what, Dina, I think that we need to consider buying an Airstream. And turning it into a bar or a bathroom and putting it in a bucket or doing something, I'm not sure what, but we should do something with it. And I was like, yeah, okay. Turns out that at the end of that week, my husband, who had been looking for another opportunity in the glamping, in the vacation rental spot or something like that, got a call from this woman he had been working with saying, I found 5 places I think you guys should come and see. So we drove up to Paso Robles, which is 3 hours away from Los Angeles, which is where we live, Monday through Friday, and we looked at 5 different properties in a day. And we had learned what we needed based on just jumping into the business the first time with our friends with no forethought. And we kind of told the realtor that these were the things we needed. We needed large acreage. We didn't want neighbors right on top of us. We wanted the proper zoning, all these mistakes that we just didn't even consider the first time around. So we looked at these 5 places, and the last one was a really interesting piece of property because it sat on 30 acres. There was a house, there was a pool, there was a tennis court, there was a barn, there was a guest house, and then there was this area with 14 RV spots with water, power, and some even had septic. And I just was like looking at this place, and for the price, I couldn't believe it. And I was like, this is it. Like, I looked at my husband, I said, this is what we're going to do with Airstreams. And he like knowingly looked back at me and agreed and smiled. And next thing we know, we were putting in an offer. And that was 2 years ago. And that was the start of Windward Ranch. We bought our first trailer before we had even closed on the property. And we started our business that has since grown to 4 vintage campers and 3 teepees and a bell tent, and has, been going quite well, thankfully. We're actually into an expansion project at the moment. And so that's the long and the short of it, in a very abbreviated, hopefully, version.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, I can't quite believe the how that happened and the steps that you took, and the fact that you went into it first of all with your friends with no knowledge at all, and yet you still decided to keep going and pursuing the business model. And that's really fantastic. And now you've got this, and it's now set up as a camping exclusive place, but you say you've got an expansion project.
Yeah, so we 5 minutes from Wynwood Ranch, we bought a vineyard with tons of acreage, similar setup to what we have now, where we have, kind of a home on there, but we also have tons of land where we plan on growing the glamping section of our business. So, since we've dove into glamping, which is often the theme with my husband and I, we jump in and then we kind of learn the laws. We can put up to 10 incidental units in the county in which we operate. So we're going to be we're working with a land use lawyer, and we're working with a land use planner, and we can, we're currently brainstorming on the kinds of structures we want, because we've, in 2 years of operation, we've learned all the challenges that come along with trailers, that come along with teepees, and so and that come along even with tents, because you're dealing with seasonal aspects of that. So we're really trying to find the best unit or structure that can fit our business, and sustain it year wide. That makes the most sense, or year round, I should say.
So do you have any bricks and mortar lets or accommodation as well?
Yeah, each property has 2 homes. The vineyard has a home that we rent out, like a true vacation home. It's 4 bedrooms, and then the Wynwood Ranch also has a 4-bedroom home and has a guest house. The vineyard, which we're going to name Vinyl Vineyards, I believe, has a standalone structure that we're also going to turn into like a small efficiency unit as well. So there's a couple kinds of lines of revenue coming from each property.
Yeah, and I love the variety in all of it. So I think that's so exciting for guests as well as yourself running it, to have that bit of variety keeps it a bit more exciting.
It kind of works, because when families come for vacations, oftentimes maybe the parents or the grandparents aren't really interested in roughing it, but the kids or siblings or younger couples are open to more of an adventure. So there's always something that suits everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, going into why you kind of jumped with both feet before really knowing much about it, I think a degree of naivety is so important sometimes. We sometimes just go into the detail too much, and we get bogged down by the detail, and it stops us. We put barriers up in our way. I want to be clear a little bit here that you haven't quit your job, have you? You still maintained your job as well as this business.
That's right. I am still working full time, and we actually still have our business with our partners as well. So, starting a business takes a lot of capital, and luckily, we've been able to use our jobs as the way to subsidize all the improvements and all the things that it takes to run a business, and get it off the ground. And we've been very grateful without having to take out too many loans. So yeah, we're kind of playing that out as long as we can. But it's been a grind. For 2 years we work Monday through Friday in Los Angeles, and then Friday evenings we drive up 3 hours north. We work from Saturday morning all through Sunday, and Sunday night or Monday morning we drive back 3 hours south. And that's kind of been our life for the last 2.5 years.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously that must be quite exhausting, but to many people, they would say, oh no, I couldn't do that. Do you have strategies kind of that you use to help you through that, to make sure you take as much pressure off yourself as possible, to allow you to hold down the business and hold down the job? I mean, what do you do to make sure that you have as much help as you need?
I have to give my husband credit. I don't think I wouldn't survive without him. He's really the driving force and the motivator to keep us going, because he just has the discipline and rigor that it takes to commit to something like that. Each weekend we make sure to take time and have fun, and we go wine tasting, we go explore the area, we do something so that it doesn't always feel like work all day long. And that definitely helps.
And also, I suppose you're exploring things and you're doing things in the local area that you can pass on to your guests in terms of, you've tried something out, you've visited somewhere, or you've had an experience, and you can recommend that on to others. So it's really important both for your heart and soul, but also for being a great host as well, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, people come to you with so many questions about what to do and itineraries and where to go that it really is essential to have all of that knowledge.
And so when you are going through the process of deciding whether you're going to have, this particular business, this particular model, or you're going to take on this other element, do you ever consider the impact it might have on you as an individual or your family? Do you just think, I'm just going to go for it, it's going to be fine? Or do you take a qualified guess about how it might be for you?
Sarah, that is such a thoughtful question. To be honest with you, as I mentioned prior to this interview, I'm currently pregnant. I'm expecting my first child in, gosh, I don't know, 5 days. And
Oh wow! Congratulations! I didn't know it was that soon.
yeah. And I, as a woman, as a business owner, as an employee, I have definitely had my fair share of, worries and insecurities about how to maintain all of it. And, the people who know us best have really kind of, you have to have good support system, like you said, and my friends and family have been like, it's going to be fine. You guys can handle it. You're going to strap the baby to you. It's going to be in the middle of the mix, and you're just going to do what you do. And so, yeah, I don't know is the answer. We're going to figure it out, I guess, as it comes.
I think you'll be absolutely fine. As you say, you'll strap your baby to you and it'll just become part of your world, the world that you're living in now. So obviously you're going to have your fair share of challenges over the next few months because you'll be dealing with the baby. Hopefully you'll have one of these babies who sleeps all the time and is absolutely wonderful. But you may have a baby who, gets up through the night. And are you putting in place anything to kind of help you through that with the things that you're going to be doing? And are you going to take a bit of time off?
Yeah, so great question. I have somebody up there. Well, the biggest challenge so far, because we also host weddings and events on our property on a regular basis. So for us, the biggest challenge has been giving tours for prospective bride and grooms. And I actually have made alliance with a woman up there who is a veteran wedding planner, and she lives in the area full time. So she's been gracious enough to work with me and give tours on our behalf when we're not able to make it up there. The rest of the business we have set up sort of as currently in a fashion where people can have lock boxes and check in on their own. So they don't, the business sort of runs itself in that respect. I have a great crew that comes over and turns each unit over after everybody has checked out. And then they also are so good that they're able to tell me when we're running low on supplies, and they go and get, toilet paper and paper towel and whatever cleaning supplies we're missing for me on my behalf. So yeah, I have been able to kind of put into place some measures to help, but generally if it's something bigger, my husband will probably have to go up there or we'll have to call in some other help. But yeah, that's how it's been going to date. We last weekend, he went up there and prepared everything in with the idea that we wouldn't be around for next few weeks or months. I don't know. And then, I am taking maternity leave from my full-time job, but this job, as you know, an entrepreneur is like, I'm always on the computer, I'm always on the phone. And I don't know, I guess when you have a business partner, they're going to help you pick up the slack if I'm not going to be, super responsive on emails. But that's, I envision that I'll be able to put more time towards this business since I won't have my full-time job when I'm usually working. But I
Yeah.
have no idea. I've never been a parent, so I don't know how demanding that is.
Oh, you're going to love it. You're going to absolutely love it. But your priority will shift for sure. But absolutely, you'll love it. But it sounds like, my goodness me, what a great team you have. And have you got any tips for others in terms of finding great staff and maybe even keeping them motivated or giving them, that sense of responsibility to just go forward and take the work on, so that takes the pressure off you? What have you done to be able to achieve that?
Finding great staff is really hard, and really difficult. And I feel fortunate, because the team I work with is so dependable, so amazing. It does not come without its challenges. There are definitely moments where you get frustrated, but you really have to look at the good with the bad and decide, what's worth it, and what you are able to deal with, because sometimes you just have to compromise, like in any great relationship. And if there's things that you don't like or don't bother you, sometimes you have to say, is this really worth it in the greater scheme of things? Because I have someone that I can absolutely trust, that I know is reliable, that I know is dependable. And, whether I agree with everything that she does or doesn't do, sometimes I just swallow it, because they're so much more valuable in the greater scheme of things.
Mm.
So, so yeah, that's what I would say. It's like any good relationship. It's not perfect, and you have to compromise and basically just go over what's more important to you.
Mm.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, my cleaning crew is the heart and soul of this operation.
And you have a crew, so how many do you use? How many do you have in your team?
Well, so we have, let me think about this. We have 10 units that are going at any one time. So she can't do it alone, especially during high seasons like summer or the winter holidays, the holiday season, because it's too much. People are traveling then. And so she has to have help. She works with her daughter, she works with another woman, sometimes her husband stands in. But it's generally one person who I've given her the responsibility to find her team.
Mm.
And for the most part, it works out.
I mean, that sounds amazing that you've actually got staff like that, and fantastic. It's gold. But who does the meet and greet? So is that, as you say, they have their key box, they have enough information, they know where to go, they know what to do to be able to get into the property? What if there's a problem? Who deals with that?
So yes, so there is a key box, and so we don't have anybody who does the meet and greet. I will be honest though, I find that when I am personally there and able to introduce myself to guests, their stay goes a lot better. Um, but the business is set up so that we don't have to be there and do the meet and greet. They get check-in instructions prior to arriving. They get a suggested itinerary with things to do in the area prior to arriving. We have house rules that get emailed to them and also printed in each of the units. So it's set up so that it can be a business where we don't necessarily have to be on site for every check-in and check-out.
That's amazing, because I have so many people who say that they'd like to do something, but they have maybe a job they're not willing to let go completely, maybe work part-time, and yet they can't see how they might be able to run a site alongside their current job. So what you're actually saying is it is possible, it can be done. It just needs to have, the processes need to be there and the staff need to be there. And if you've got them in place, you can do exactly what you need to do to fit around your existing life. And I think that's, a lot of people will find that very inspiring.
Yeah, I think that when we were setting each place up, it's very easy to get connected or attached to all of the things and pieces that you put into place in all your different properties or business. But what I had to keep in mind that enabled me to kind of put a separation between the two and allowed me to treat it as though I didn't necessarily have to be on site and worry about every little thing was that I treated it as though it was a hotel or more of a transient thing where people were just going to come and go, even though it's your stuff that you're putting in place and your time and your labor and your love and your money. Like, you have to know that oftentimes, and this isn't the best attitude to have, but it's the one that's helped me. Oftentimes people are really just not going to treat your stuff very well. And so if you plan for that and put in things in place that, you know, you're not going to care as much if they don't get, if they get ruined or lost or stolen or taken, then it's easier for you to put some distance between not being there and trusting in people. And so that always made me feel a little more at ease. And it definitely had to be the way it was going to be for us to set up our business in the fashion that we did and be able to maintain a full-time job in addition to, you know, a growing business. So yeah, that's a very important point.
And I suppose to finish off, really, we have to acknowledge that what you and your husband have achieved has been pretty epic, holding down 2 full-time jobs, quite a long drive away from where your existing property is, which isn't a small property. You know, with that many units, that's a large property, that's a large business. And you have another business as well, which is also ticking along. You know, that's a lot. And you clearly have a natural ability to be productive and to achieve things. And maybe you're not even aware that you have that ability, but can you give some tips to people who are maybe struggling to get things done? I mean, a lot of people say to me, I don't have time to do what I need to do. I want to do this, but I don't have time. I'm struggling to find time, since I have a full-time job as well. You know, I constantly get people putting these barriers up for their progress because they're saying they just can't achieve it because they've got this job. But you clearly have been able to. And, you know, what are your tips to make that happen that you would give to someone else who was looking for a few answers?
Sarah, when we met at the glamping conference, you played a video to me that's like today still sticks out in my mind on what it's like to be an entrepreneur. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was this video, this little boy riding this roller coaster and all that emotion and like the ups and the downs and the whole thing. And that is, you know, exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
And I would say in terms of time management, I mean, listen, I go to work, I'm at the office my full days, but you know, I've read the 4-hour work week or have been working for God knows how many years. And you go to the office and there's so much time that you're surfing the internet or you're, you know, just shopping online or doing stuff that maybe you could be more productive at your day job about. My day job I'm so grateful for it and I built a career in it and, you know, I do well, but it's not my passion. My passion is the business and the dream that we're making. And that's sort of what fuels my husband and I. We both have a dream to move up there and take control of our lives and work for ourselves and have a better quality of life. And while that move isn't quite feasible yet because we still have such big dreams with our business, it propels us. And so instead of shopping online, I'll take the time to write emails to people who have come in because I'm sitting in front of a computer anyways, or, you know, you just find, and maybe that's not the best example, but you just find time to, when you can, to fit it all in, you know, or after work, after you've had dinner, you know, where you'd love to sit down and watch Netflix, maybe instead you sit down and get back to a few emails or, you know, make appointments, or you carve out time. There's like Beyonce, you know, like you have as many hours in the day as Beyonce does, and she can basically rule the world. So why can't we? So, you fit it in somehow, you know, or 3 hours in the car, I've created a mobile hotspot with my phone and I get on the computer and I make use of that time that I'm just sitting there and, you know, set up appointments or call people or send back responses. And that's, you just figure it out and make it work. There definitely is enough time in the day. It's just, you can't expect to see it in fitting in a pretty box, you know, that's not realistic.
Mm,
But luckily we live in a mobile world where everything is at our fingertips at all times. So
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
I tell people that all the time. Everyone can do whatever they want to do at any minute of the day, or all the tools are there for us. We just need to know where to look, and it's all there to help us, do what we need to do in the least amount of time. And I love what you're saying there, which is about taking stock of what you're doing, where you're wasting time, and where you can put efforts and be a bit more efficient with your time, but also multitasking. So sitting in the car and doing your tasks while you're in the car, or so I love to catch up on podcasts when I'm in the car. It's fantastic because I'm driving, it's wasted time, but I can listen and learn while I'm there. And no, I think those are really great tips. And sometimes we do things that maybe are wasting time and we don't realize that that's what we're doing. And we all need to unwind, and we all need to sit and relax and be with friends and all of that. But sometimes we might be doing things where it's actually distracting us from achieving and being productive. And we need to take a very objective look at what we're doing and refine it a little bit and be a bit self-critical about where we could make improvements. I know I certainly could do that with my own life. So I'm sure everyone else is exactly the same. And I think, that what you said there is really inspiring for that, especially in the light of what you've achieved.
Yeah, and it's not all that, thank you. It's not all that perfect and whatever. I've definitely had to learn also the things that you need to sustain you personally. And sometimes I will tell you that, like, my husband and I work very differently. He gets up in the morning, he likes to handle all of his business early in the day, take the bull by the horns, and just kind of face what he has to do and get it all accomplished. And by 3 or 4, he's kind of like hanging out. And whereas me, I need my mornings to handle picking up around the house, walking the dogs, doing like the things that sustain me personally, my meditation, getting a workout in, or just putzing. I need time. I personally have learned that in all of these years, I refuel by being able to slow down and do nothing. And I need that time. And you have to figure out, in addition to, how do you multitask and get things done, you have to figure out the things that are going to sustain you personally on a spiritual or just a whatever kind of personal level that you need. You have to fill your tank, because if you let that tank go empty, you won't be able to get all the other things done. And so sometimes I take time, and I'm not necessarily quite as responsive as I need to be in a timely manner in my husband's eyes. But for me, it works, like I would rather take a little time on responding to someone immediately where I can have some time to really think through what I need to say to them properly, or how do I get back to them, with the best answers. And maybe it's not within 24 hours, maybe, it's I don't want to say 48, but a little later than you normally would, but at least those answers are thought through, and so I would just say you have to really kind of put yourself first, or figure out how to carve your time out, because otherwise you can really get drained in that grind.
Yeah, because and what you're saying there really reflects my own learning, which I've done since I've had my accident. And I've learned a lot about the brain and how the brain works, and everyone's brain works slightly differently. So at certain times of the day, someone may be more proactive taking on a creative task, and another time of the day, someone might do better with an admin task or something that needs some problem solving. And everyone's different. So finding out what really works for you is so important. And it's really interesting to hear the differences between yourself and your husband, because that's reflecting how you are unique as individuals. And that's important to embrace that uniqueness and not force another way. And also, I think we do take on certain amount of decision making every day, and we can max out with that. So getting stuff done when it feels right for us to get it done, and then realizing that sometimes we have to put ourselves first and get some contemplate and empty and refuel and all that kind of stuff, so that we're able to go back out there again and do it all again. that, yeah, really great to hear you say that you're focusing on what's right for you, because that's so necessary now, especially with all the information overload we have in today's world.
Oh my God, information overload indeed. I find that I have to sometimes just put the phone down and walk away for a day sometimes, and that's it's really hard for people to do. It's hard for myself to do, but it's so much better health-wise, I think.
Absolutely. And also that whole meditation thing you're talking about, and I think the whole switching off and resetting, a little bit how you would switch your computer off at the end of the day to allow it to go through the process of emptying, the waste, and in restarting anew. And it's kind of the same with you and meditation. All of us, it's the same. We have to kind of really focus on our mind and how our health is allowing us to be productive during the day, and that would become much more important when your little baby comes along. So I'm so excited to hear news about when that happens. And will you share your baby's name with us when you've had your little bundle of joy arrive?
Yes, definitely. I will share the baby's name, the baby's gender, all of it once I know.
Do you not know? Are you totally going into it without knowing anything?
Totally a surprise.
Oh, wow, that's so exciting. I wasn't like that. I decided to know beforehand, just because I needed to get mentally prepared for it. But that is really super exciting.
Yeah, it kind of plays into the theme of our lives, where we kind of just do things without fully knowing how the outcome is going to be.
And you know what? It's worked out really well so far. And I'm so excited to hear about what you've done, what you've achieved. And I'm sure so many other people listening will be really inspired by your story. It's definitely going to hit a note with a few people that have been speaking to me recently. So I'm so grateful that you spent time today. And I'll share all the information about Wynwood. But if you want to share now a little bit of information where people can find out more.
Yes, thank you. So we have our website, wynwoodranch.com. We have an Instagram called Wynwood Ranch Paso, and that's WINDWOOD. And we have a Facebook, Wynwood Ranch Facebook page as well.
Brilliant. And I'll link all of that in the show notes. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, Dina, I'm sure that would be fine by email or via your website or whatever. And, good luck. I hope it all goes fantastically well. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your news.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me today. It was lovely chatting with you.
At last. Yeah, I've been wanting to speak to you for ages, so this is brilliant.
Same here. It's been so nice.
Well, thank you so much, Dina, for sharing your wisdom with us. I feel so inspired to try and achieve more in a bit more of a clever, more strategic, more focused way to actually gain my goals, the goals that I have, rather than running around like a headless chicken, which actually is something that I realise I often do. So I hope this has inspired you too. So the show notes for this episode are over on inspiredcamping.com/023, as this is episode 23. So go on over there, have a look at Dina's site and everything she offers. I know that you'll find it amazing, especially when you realize she's done all of that while she's been living so far away from her site and holding down full-time jobs and also expanding their family. It's just amazing, isn't it? So I'm really grateful for Dina sparing her time for us so that we can all learn and be inspired by her. If you want to be inspired by some other amazing business owners, head on over to inspiredcourses.com/wish. And in the book that you can download from that page are a whole load of other really inspirational snippets of advice from business owners who share what they wish they'd known before they started their business. So I hope you enjoy that and look forward to seeing you here again for the next episode. Take care.